Now let's try some spindle turning that will teach us some different technique. This honey dipper, and let's do this on a slightly smaller lathe, the Jet Mini lathe, which can do almost everything its big brother can except for larger blanks. But this one can do bowls up to about 10 inches in diameter, so you're hardly limited to mini projects with it. This lathe can be mounted on an accessory stand like this one, or you can use it on a workbench. I personally like to augment the stand with a simple table, bolted between the lathe and the stand to act as a tool caddy, cup holder, or what have you. You can never have too much work surface in the woodshop. I'll start once again by punching in the center marks. You can use any kind of punch or awl for this. Now we'll chuck it up between the centers, the mini center, and the live center on the tailstock end. Bring the tailstock up, lock it in place, and tighten it down. The tool rest out of the way. And place the tool rest. Bring it up to height. And clear. Okay, we're about ready. It's clear, but it's not quite fast enough. But before we change the speed, we want to make sure that the machine is unplugged. We want to release the tension on the belts. This machine uses a step pulley system where you physically have to move the belts from one to the next. Lock it back down and turn it on. We've got a little bit more speed now. And I'm going to rough down this blank with our 1 1/4 inch roughing gouge, which is our usual roughing tool. And once again, you always put the tool on the rest before you start cutting. Lift it up high, let the heel cut, and then gently roll into the cutting edge, keeping the tool handle against your body and rolling in the direction of the cut. We're going to go to the length of the tool rest, and then we'll stop the machine, move the tool rest, and then come back and finish up the other end of it. Using the entire cutting edge to save on sharpening. Just check and see. Yes. Stop the machine, move the tool rest back to where we started, and now we're going to use the 1/16 inch parting tool, and we're going to make 5 grooves for our honey. Why 5 grooves? Well, because 3's not enough and 7's too many. You always want to start the tool high and lift and push in to make a parting cut. With 5 parting cuts made, we're going to come back to the roughing gouge and shape the rest of the dipper. We're going to take it down to the smallest diameter in this area. As we get small, the material starts to flex a little bit, so a finger behind the work supports it to keep it from doing that. The finger supports the work to keep it from flexing quite so much. Now we'll finish up the handle end. At this point, you don't have to go all the way down to the narrow part. We just make long, flowing cuts. We're still starting out with the bevel, using the bevel to support the cut and peeling the material off very lightly so that not to flex the workpiece. And blend that back in. Now we're going to turn it off again, move our tool rest, and raise it just a little. We're going to switch to the spindle gouge and detail the ends of it. Now we have a fingernail grind on this, which allows us to get in tight. We're going to make some real fine cuts to get very close to the finished diameters here. We're going to leave this about a quarter or just under a quarter inch in diameter. We'll stop it, move it up to the handle end, and repeat doing the same thing. Making peeling cuts, leaving a nice clean surface. We're going to just leave a rounded end up here. Take it down to just under a quarter of an inch, and we'll move the tool rest. Grab some sandpaper. I'm going to sand with 50 grit and then switch to 220 grit, which should be fine for a honey dipper. Then we'll apply a little beeswax for a finish. I'm applying the beeswax just by holding it up here and letting it melt into the wood. Now I'll come back with a paper towel and burnish it just a little bit. And we always want to use paper towels rather than a rag to avoid getting a thread caught and wrapping it around our finger. Then we'll turn it off, move the tool rest back into position, and now we can go back and trim the ends a little tighter. You can take it down to about a 1/16 of an inch because the fibers of the wood are so strong and lengthwise. And we'll stop it, move it to the other end, take that end down to about a 1/16 of an inch. And we'll turn it off. We'll take it, the centers away, and just with a pocket knife, we'll trim the ends off. Sand it lightly. And we have a finished honey dipper.